A great deal to talk about on today's severe weather outlooks. We still have many days in a row of severe weather, today included. This goes through Tuesday, maybe even Wednesday. 2 days, Sunday and Monday, are really being highlighted as pretty significant days. And we'll dive into all the details here in this edition of Severe Weather Outlooks. I'm meteorologist Ted Keller. Here is a look at today's severe weather outlook. And if you're new to this, the Storm Prediction Center breaks this down into a 1 through 5 category, where you're really just trying to assess the widespread nature of any of the severe weather types. That would include tornadoes, hail 1 inch in diameter, or wind gusts 59 miles per hour or higher. Just that gives you the overview. So if you look at this, the chance of any 3 of those happening is greatest where the level 3 is. So that's down there in southwest Nebraska and northwest Kansas, small sliver of Colorado. We'll zoom in on that in a second. Level 2, which is what they used to call a slight risk, still do, covers a large area, all those areas in yellow, and a little pocket there around Louisville and south into Kentucky, right around the Ohio River. But we'll focus in on the Great Plains here, and this is again for today. A lot of this is expected to develop by late afternoon and especially into the overnight hours, evening and overnight hours. Still looking at that best chance for any type of severe weather out there from North Platte southward into northwest Kansas. The slight risk covers Des Moines, St. Joe, over to Cedar Rapids, almost to Dubuque, Norfolk and Lincoln and Omaha, and Hayes and Garden City, Kansas, all those in the slight risk area. So let's break it down by what the Storm Prediction Center thinks that tornado risk will be today. This is up from yesterday. This is a 5% risk that runs pretty much along the Kansas-Nebraska border, but also includes areas along I-80, Kearney and Grand Island and Hastings and Lincoln and Omaha, all in that 5% risk, and it's a 5% risk of a tornado within a 25 miles of a point. And then, of course, there's a 2% green surrounding that. In terms of intensity, sometimes the Storm Prediction Center, if it's a very weak chance, they won't even issue this. But today they did go with the intensity 1 scale. There are 3 of these, so this is the lowest. But it just kind of tells you what the breakdown you expect. So heavily weighted on the EF2 and EF1 scale, but not an insignificant chance for an EF2 in this area of hatching for later on today. As far as Nadocast is concerned, it still wants to highlight Colorado to Kansas right along I-70 there, but does extend, that's a 5%, it does extend a 3% chance on over into those areas that the Storm Prediction Center was talking about, and also has a little pocket there right around Evansville, right along and north of the Ohio River. And if we look at StormNet, it puts, and this moves, I just grabbed one slide, so it's somewhere back there about an hour before that and a little over here an hour after that. But the hour we're talking about is 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. tonight. So, southeast of Grand Island, that might be an area to watch. And this would be an evening threat. A lot of these storms will be ongoing into the nighttime hours, and so be advised of that. And by that time, this could take the nature of a squall line with embedded circulations in it. We'll just have to wait and see how those details work out. Hail risk for today is highest in that same area of the enhanced risk. In fact, they go hand in hand. I had to zoom out a little bit because they did put the intensity of the hail heavily weighted toward anything from 2 inches or less. But this is a perfect example of the difference between a probability of severe hail, which is 1 inch, highest there, lower probabilities down here along the dry line, but equal chances for the same hail size as here. That's how you would read that chart. On Nadocast, they do a hail intensity, and there is a significant 10% chance of 2-inch hail or greater within that hatched area there that you see. And that covers a lot of real estate. Northern Kansas, good chunk of southern Nebraska, again, right along I-80, and that extends along I-80 over to Des Moines, includes Omaha as well. On the wind risk side, again, it kind of goes hand in hand with the hail in that enhanced risk area, that level 3 area, 30% chance. And the wind intensity, there is a SIG for this too, but I haven't actually put up the percentages yet. But just keep in mind that they think that even though the highest probability is here, equal chances of severe winds of a certain intensity extended all the way over into Iowa and over into Missouri. For the tornado risk, they target Lincoln, Nebraska on the CSU Outlook. And just to make a comment, I had posted yesterday that I was thinking about going to St. Joe, hanging out around 2, and then seeing which way I need to pivot. I'm pretty sure, unless I see strong evidence otherwise, I'm going to forego the chase today, mainly because I have a day tomorrow. I'm going to a concert, Styx concert, actually, with my son. And so I can't really stay overnight up there. I just have other obligations. Also, too, today I get my new laptop, which my laptop is 8 years old, and when I stream, I think it's really having problems doing the encoding. Now I have a dedicated graphics card on this new computer that's coming in, so that should greatly improve it. And I would really want to probably test that today. There's plenty of severe weather outcomes coming up, so I'm not really worried about missing this. Anyway, the hail risk also maximized right around Lincoln, and the wind risk a little bit of a broad brush along that area. Now, we turn the page to Sunday. This is the first of the 2 days that the Storm Prediction Center has been talking about for quite some time. This is a level 3 out of 5, and it runs from Minnesota down almost into Kansas, and a large area of marginal risk. That's the green area, the dark green area. If we zoom in on this, though, here is how it breaks down for tomorrow. Again, I won't be able to chase this, but this looks like a big event. Hastings, Kearney, Grand Island, Norfolk, up to Sioux Falls and Sioux City. They're under that level 3 out of 5 risk. The tornado risk now is pretty high. I forgot to put that behind the scale, but that's a 10% chance, that yellow area right there. So pretty intense. And in terms of the condition, they're keeping it at intensity level 1 for now. So there would be a 2 and a 3 if it were necessary. And they may have to break that out for Sunday. They probably will wait till Sunday morning's data came in before they did that. This would be updated, I believe, at midnight tonight, right around there, 1 o'clock, I think, a.m. And so anyway, just keep in mind, this looks like outbreak material here for some strong tornadoes, certainly. And on Sunday, the tornado risk as identified by StormNet is right around Minnesota to, I'm sure, Rochester and Minneapolis are included in that. And I'm not sure what other cities are down there, but that's a pretty big risk right there, a bullseye. That's valid from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. on Sunday. So that's expected to be an evening event for sure. And then the hail risk is coinciding with that level 3. And again, the intensity is at the lowest level. And the wind risk is a little bit more broad brush and not as focused with this particular outlook. CSU looks at it. They put the tornado bullseye right around the Sioux Falls, Sioux City, Iowa area, and they put that at a 15% chance. So Storm Prediction Center had used 10, and they just have a little bit of a higher bullseye there. The hail probability is pretty high there from around Kearney northward, almost to the Sioux Falls, Sioux City area. And then wind is in that same area as well. If you just want to look at the NAMS 500 millibar forecast, so this right here is the player for Tuesday. This is a strong jet max that's going to be rotating out of this negatively tilted trough, or positively tilted trough, but it's coming around, I should say. And there are little short waves in here. Here's one right here. And there's another one. It's hard to see, but it's right here. So that's going to contribute to Sunday's severe weather activity. There will be plenty of instability available. Here's a look at Cape on Sunday afternoon. Again, that's not a problem. Some indications of a little dry line surge right there. That could be interesting to look at as well. Okay, turn the page to Monday. Still enhanced risk. There's probably room on either Sunday or Monday, especially Monday, to go up to moderate on this. We're just going to have to wait and see. But Des Moines right down to Wichita, that's where the worst of that is expected to be for sure. And it looks like I may have... Oh, no, I didn't. This is day 3. So the SPC only breaks this down by overall categories. In other words, you'd have to look up what the intensity level for hail, tornadoes, and wind would be for each of these, but both of these are on the table, especially central Kansas and eastern Kansas and up into Nebraska. So if you're in Lincoln or Omaha or southeast Nebraska, you have 3 days in a row of tornado potential, getting worse probably each day. Central Kansas is going to get into the game on Sunday, but especially on Monday. I did want to show you the Storm Prediction Center's wording for Monday. Volatile environment expected to be in place ahead of a dry line across central Kansas Monday afternoon, so it doesn't necessarily have to wait until late afternoon and evening. And should the mode be able to remain discrete into the evening hours, intense tornadoes will be possible from central Kansas and the southeastern Nebraska. So in other words, if the thunderstorms line out and don't stay discrete, there's still a tornado threat. But if they were able to retain some discreteness getting into the evening hours, this could be a bad situation. I wanted to look at CSU's set situation for Monday, too. They put the hail risk very high in that zone in Kansas, and the tornado risk is more broad brush from central Wisconsin all the way down to northern Oklahoma. Not a lot of focus on that. If you're looking for some focus, you would look the storm net here on Monday. This is 1 p.m. to 1 a.m., a 12-hour period. That's maximized from central Kansas right around the Omaha areas where the bullseye of that would be, but Des Moines would be included in that as well. Probably if you zoomed in one more time, you could have seen those cities. Anyway, here's what happens to the jet stream on Monday. This speed max comes on out, and the timing of this is almost ideal because the spreading out of the winds out ahead of that, the synoptic forcing for overall lift. When you take an atmosphere and just take what it was and just generally kind of lift it up, it becomes more unstable by its very nature, all other things not included. So that is really a pretty significant short wave coming around the bend for Monday. Look at the instability on Monday. Off the charts, man, really, really high, especially for this time of year when you're talking about 4,000 and higher capes. That's saying something. Did also want to show you Tuesday, the severe weather risk stretches along the cold front from Lansing and Detroit, Michigan, straight down through to Oklahoma City, and it would include Springfield, Missouri. So keep an eye out for that as well. And as far as CSU's outlook, generally in agreement. So here's SPC's, what I just showed you, and it lines up pretty well. But usually the CSU learning machine expands this quite a bit, and usually the SPC is a little more conservative. But it should be, because this is only one example of what might happen. And then on Wednesday, this whole thing kind of sinks south. No word from the SPC on that yet. Too far away. Probably not as great of a chance as what some of these days I just showed you, but nevertheless, it is there. So to sum up the next 7 days from the NIU Composite Supercell Index, meaning they just add up the pixels and the chances for 7 days in a row beginning today. And it pretty much encapsulates what I just showed you. But importantly, the week after that, May 23rd through the 29th, it looks like dry line activity is pretty prominent there from Dodge southward into Texas. And then after that, look what happens getting into the first 5 days of June here. A widespread berth of accumulated severe weather possibilities. Iowa into Minnesota. They had an early season. Looks like they may be coming back there. Certainly Kansas and down along the Oklahoma and Texas panhandles. Thanks for watching today's edition of Severe Thunderstorm Outlooks. This is published every day after the morning Storm Prediction Center update. Also, remember to check that site off on day one because they update it fairly frequently. If you like this video, please like it. Also, you can subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.